What have you got to show us, John?
Here we go. This question that came up last week about whether something is temporary or not.
Right, the continuous. Okay, I remember that one.
Yeah, and I think you might have a few words to say on this as well.
Mm-hmm.
What I
Yeah.
wanted to say was that as far as the situation is being seen as temporary is concerned, then yes, I think that's largely true.
Mm-hmm.
And the speaker's talking
I
about the
agree.
situation at or around the present moment. But when it comes to the listener thinks that the speaker will live somewhere else, well, that's not necessarily true.
No. No.
It could be temporary, not in relation to the future, or the
Mm-hmm.
speaker will live somewhere, but in relation to the past.
Exactly, to the past.
Okay?
Yes.
I used to live in Spain and I'm living in Japan now, but I have no plans to leave Japan.
No, but you didn't, in your life, you haven't always lived in Japan.
Exactly, haven't always lived in Japan.
Lived. Yeah.
That's the
Simple past there.
Yeah.
Well, it's a perfect, but with a not a continuous ending.
that's right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if we wanted to correct that last statement, it would be more accurate to say the listener thinks the speaker will live or has lived somewhere else.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
That improves
Okay.
it, I think. But even
I
then,
think so.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Has lived somewhere else. I don't think that person's always lived in Japan.
right. But you see, although we're talking about what's happening now, we could
Mm-hmm.
be talking about it not necessarily in contrast with what's happened. Like I've always done it, I always will do it, and I'm doing it right now.
Uh-huh.
So that's also a possible scenario. If we look at an obvious example here, what does the sun do? Okay, the Earth orbits
Well, the
around the
sun.
sun. It always does that.
Yes.
So what's it doing right now?
Well, right now it is orbiting around the sun.
Of course it is. It's doing what it always does, but it's doing it now. Okay?
And we're focused on now.
Right.
That's the difference. It's my point of view at the moment of speaking.
Yeah.
It really has very little to do with science and logic. That's not what language is about.
It's about
It's
our own
about,
personal point of view, isn't it? Yeah.
it is. And I think it's important to say my point of view at the moment of speaking. I'm not going to hold this point of view for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Everyone I'm sure knows you've got a morning me and a afternoon me, you know, and we don't agree.
That's right.
So I might have a different point of view later on in the day.
And in the same way, I live in Japan. Okay?
Yes,
So right now, where am I living? Well, again, obviously,
I'm living in Japan.
I'm living
Yeah,
in Japan. But we mustn't get too carried away with the possibilities of this, because if we look at something like, Peter eats fish,
yes.
we say, well, what's Peter doing now?
Well,
He's not necessarily eating
maybe
fish, is he?
not necessarily. Peter might be listening to us. Who knows?
We have no idea what he's doing right now. The difference
Yeah.
being that living is something that goes on, and the orbiting around the Earth, that goes on all the time, whereas Peter only eats fish from time to time, and we don't know if he's eating anything right now.
No, it's just a general truth.
So
Yeah. Okay.
that was some.
I think, yeah, I think, John, that pretty much covers it.
Mm-hmm.
If you could come to slide 13 just for a minute, I'll just sort
Yeah.
of finish up with what we were talking about last week.
Mm.
Same idea. Okay. So we can say things like, I live on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
That is right now. that is before, that is after. It's just all time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to narrow my border, I could tell you that I'm living on Mars
Mm-hmm.
these days, and I can use a perfect continuous as well. So it's not just present, it's not just past, it's any continuous. I have been living on Mars for 15 years. That puts a border, this orange border, around the time I'm talking about to tell you in my existence that isn't always.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and opposed to that, you could have something in a perfect. Um, I've lived on Earth all my life.
Right.
Notice that's different. There's no continuous there. That's all my life. There are no borders in my point of view of my life.
It's not limited.
Scientifically, there's a border around my life, but that's not.
That's not in your mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that covers it for the continuous. Yeah.
If anybody watching has any questions about this or anything else, please just put it in the chat. Okay? Add your comment, add your question, if possible, before we move on to the next topic, so that we can just keep up a pace here.
Keep it going. Yeah.
So, okay, that's the first thing.
One other thing about
okay.
Living on Earth and Japan and France and whatever. Let me just add really quickly here. There are 3 funny verbs that could be present perfect continuous or simply present perfect. That's live, work,
And study.
and study.
Yes.
Okay, those are your typical ones, folks. We generally don't make many differences between those. You know, I have been living here for 15 years. I have lived here for 15 years.
In many
But
contexts, they are the
They're
same,
pretty
or
much
yes,
similar.
but they don't
But
not necessarily in every context.
Language, we can just say nothing is 100% always true.
Yeah.
So
Yes, I think I'd like just to, if you raise, since you're raising that, I'll just put in a link here, because there are occasions when those could be seen differently, and
yeah.
I'll just give you a link.
Okay.
Here we go. If people are interested in, well, under what circumstances would we have to say I've lived here, and under what circumstances would we say I've been living here, or I've been living somewhere. So, and the simple example there would be if Joe says I've lived. I haven't seen. If Joe and Pete bump into each other, and Joe says, "I haven't seen you for a long time," and the response would be, "Well, yes, I've been living in Paris." The response wouldn't be, "I've lived in Paris." It would be different in that particular context, you see. So, if you want more details on that, take a look at this. It's on. Sorry, take out that edit bit. That can't be right.
Okay.
That must be something wrong with that.
Okay.
But that link should take you to a video in which I talk about when it and why it might be different. Sometimes to say I've lived as opposed to I've been living. But Veronica's perfectly correct to say that in most contexts those can be used interchangeably. I've lived here for 10 years and I've been living here for 10 years. Have a pretty much, in most contexts, a very similar. They have the same.
Yeah.
They have basically the same meaning.
And again, I can't stress enough, nothing is always true in language.
You can find exceptions to most rules.
What was the famous thing that Abraham Lincoln said?
I don't know if I don't know if this is apocryphal and who said it, but this idea that all generalizations are dangerous.
Oh, there's that. No, he was saying something like, some of the people agree with some of the things
Some of
all
the
the time.
all of the time, yeah,
but not all the people agree with all the things
all of the time, yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, you get the idea.
Another thing that was said last week, before we move into this week's questions, another thing that was said last week that again I'll share the screen here and
Okay.
we go over into play from current slide. Yeah.
Oh,
Most of the
time to eat it, right?
the first now we had different opinions ourselves. I think you find that something you're less likely to say. I felt it was something I might perhaps say, and I was wondering, why we'd have those different views. And one thing that occurred to me was that that construction is very close to another construction that is perfectly okay. This is the best time for me to meet you.
The best.
So what the heck's going on? If you can say this is the best time, why can't you say this is the first time for me?
The best time for me. And also,
isn't that strange?
Now that you say that, I would say, okay, let's have a meeting. What's the best time for you?
Right.
Oh, the best time for me is Saturday or something.
Yeah. So we can certainly say this is the best time for me to meet you. In fact, that's the correct way to say it. But we have doubts about this is the first time for me to eat it. But then I thought, well, if those two constructions are the same, it should work the other way round. So that if we can say this is the first time I've eaten it, we should also be able to say this is the best time I've met you. But that doesn't work.
No.
So it clearly indicates that at some level these two structures are different.
Yes.
But
semantically, do you think?
Yep.
Yeah.
They're semantically different, and I think in the end, Veronica, we need to look at what native speakers actually say, and that's where something else comes into play here. Why don't we look at what native speakers actually say? I feel that learners of English don't make good use very often of the resources that are available to them, and I'd like to introduce a little resource here.
Okay, perfect.
Now, the resource is something that you have all heard of. It's called Google. All right. So if we say
it is the first time.
First time for me.
No, I still wouldn't say it.
First time for me to, whatever. And we look and we see, well, do native speakers use this? Now I'm getting Japanese results turn up because I'm here in Japan. But and a lot of the results are actually grammatical websites like this word reference website or the grammar and so on. But we can find just regular websites where first time for me to eat Burma, meaning the first time for me to eat Burmese food, the first time for me to meet our brand new VUB racing team. Okay, we do find that native speakers are saying this. First time for me to post a job on LinkedIn. People are saying these things. So notice that the way I got that result was by putting a quotation mark at the beginning and end of the expression. That gives me the exact phrase. This is called an exact phrase search, and that's part of the menu of Google Advanced Search. Okay, you can select these Google Advanced options by simply typing in Advanced Search and going here. All right. Okay. So that's one way in which you can check what.
That's great.
It's just one of the ways in which you can check what native speakers are saying.
What about Ngram?
I was going to move on to that one. Absolutely. Ngram is very much the thing here. I mean, it's actually better in a lot of ways.
Uh-huh.
So again, you just type in Ngram, and
Can you share your screen, John, so we can see you going to the Ngram? You
sure.
stopped sharing.
Oh, sorry. Let me just put that back in again.
Hmm.
Present.
Yeah, I use Ngram quite often when I'm not sure, because I've heard something by students so often that it actually sometimes makes me question, what do I say? And so
Well,
because I mean, we are so influenced by language that even native speakers,
yeah,
teachers, I think, especially,
we
are
might
really
occasionally.
influenced by our students. So sometimes I have to check Ngram.
So how does Ngram work? Well, it's the same thing, except that here you can compare two expressions. So I want to take something like, I can only have something up to 5 words. I can't have,
Yeah,
so first time for me to.
first time for me.
Time for me to. And that's going to bring up that construction. And the second one is first time I've. Okay.
Yeah.
And the past participle in there.
Just to alert people to this if they haven't used it before, you put in a comma.
Yeah. The comma separates the two items. You don't need a space, but you need that little comma in there.
You need the comma.
And
what's our result?
first time I've comes up, okay, an awful lot. First time for me to doesn't come up much.
No.
And
so
I'm going to, if I enter the search
what
again.
Have we got here? We've got English for a long time there. Yeah. You can also change your parameters. So instead of from the 1800s, you could look from like 1950.
That's right. You can look at different and these are all taken from the Google Books database, which is a huge database of printed material. So if you want to look at examples of people in printed books saying, first time for me too, David Wallace says it in his book, David Wallace Goes to India. This is the first time for me to be in the Northern Hemisphere. You can actually click on that and you can see where it comes inside the book. Okay? I can't actually see it on that page, but if you look in the middle there, this is the first time for me to be in the Northern Hemisphere. Can you see it in the middle of the page there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel that native speakers use this. I do, as you said, and I certainly use it if I'm trying to figure out something in Japanese or Spanish, and I want or French or something like that. I really want to get it right because it matters. I don't want.
Yeah.
In everyday conversation, that's one thing, but to get a letter right or to get something right in an application or something, well, I would use this. So I feel that it's pretty important for people learning English to use these resources that Google gives them, so they've got a huge database of people using actual English. And if they use that database, they can see, native speakers are using the language in this way. And if they can do it, then maybe, really, why can't I do it? Okay, I should be able to do it. So
let me comment about native speakers and what I was saying before. Just one little warning for students. A lot of my students work with native English speakers. So for example, I have some students who are living in Spain, or do they live in Spain? And they have 2 or 3 native English speaking colleagues who are also in Spain. So they all work in the same environment, in the same office. And my students will say something to me and I'll go, no, that's not how we say it in English. And they disagree with me and say, well, my colleague who is British says it. And I think that, well, wait a minute. perhaps what's happening is your colleague has been influenced by Spanish speakers because she or he is living in Spain and
Hmm.
has been for 2 or 3 years, and they're just getting used to the way you guys are speaking.
Yeah, they're
That
picking
happens a lot,
they're
you
picking
know?
up their students' mistakes rather than.
They- exactly, right?
That could be a
And
problem. Yes.
it
Yeah.
happens to me sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I'm in Spain for a long time, I feel okay, it's time for me to come to Ireland and, listen to people who aren't teachers, who aren't part of the language business, and just communicate with the locals
Yeah.
and get back to my normal English, right?
Veronica, while we're on this topic of kind of how we interact with native speakers, perhaps I should raise the
Right.
question that I think one or two of your students who were watching last week were saying, could you ask John to speak more slowly?
Yeah, yeah. So, you guys, those of you who asked me that, listen carefully, okay? I know you understand me. I know that we've been having lessons for how many years together. I'm a slow speaker. You just got lucky that way, or perhaps it's not so lucky, John. Maybe they're not lucky to have me that way.
I think it's pretty obvious, isn't it? The world will not slow down for you. When I go to
That's
Spain and people start saying things to me like, hombre, trae este chisme pa acá, haz lo que fuera, they're not going to slow down for me. They're not going to slow their Spanish down just so that I can catch it. So this is the
well,
problem, and I think this is often the case with classroom English, that people get
yeah,
used to hearing the language at a slower than natural native speaker speed, and so
mm-hmm.
they understand in the classroom, but then when they go out into the street, uh, when they're actually in a real life situation, they
Yeah.
find that they miss a lot of stuff. I find
Well,
that.
what happens with me in Spanish is I will ask someone to slow down
Mm,
because Spanish is one of those languages where, whew, they speak awfully quickly. Um, and the person does slow down for 20 seconds
yeah.
and then just goes back to their natural way of speaking. So I just have to learn to catch up with them
My
and not
strategy here.
focus so much on every single word. Just pick up
Yeah,
the
yeah,
content words, focus on mesa, silla,
yeah,
table, chair, those kinds of words. Don't worry about the little ido,
yeah,
just
yeah.
the same as in English. Don't worry about the v in I've. Don't worry about it. Just catch the big words. Yeah.
I find that watching movies like
Mm-hmm.
you know drama series on Netflix or something with the subtitles on in the same language. So if I'm watching a
Yeah.
Spanish movie, I'll have the Spanish subtitles on. And then oh right, yeah, yeah, they're saying that. And I sometimes don't quite get to the end of reading the subtitle, but I just think, oh, never mind. I'm getting most of the story. I'm not quite catching
Yeah.
everything. But the point is that there is research that shows that this speeds up your ear and it speeds
Yes.
up your reading ability. It helps you to listen faster and to read faster. So
And many people ask me that. Should I listen with subtitles? Is it cheating?
it's
Is
not.
no,
No.
no, it's not at all. It's really good for you. You can listen with subtitles and get it. And
Yeah.
then if you really want to challenge yourself,
Yeah.
after you've listened to 20 minutes, rewind, turn off the subtitles and see if it's still there.
Yeah.
Language, don't challenge yourself with language. That just puts the nerves up, puts the
Mm.
block up, that it's not going to work. Language isn't one of those things where you challenge yourself. It's not like math. Do a more difficult problem. Make the numbers bigger. No, 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 no. Just
We're
go on.
really we're modern language teaching methods to a large extent go back to a guy called Creation, or do you say Creation or Krashen?
Oh,
Creation, I think. You know,
I say Krashen.
comprehensible, whatever the guy's name is, comprehensible
Stephen
input.
Krashen.
That was the name of the game, and I think you can go too far with that. It's good to listen to things that you don't quite catch, so that
Not
you
100%, but you know what? I don't understand 100% of what I'm listening to. I know that.
yeah
My brain is making up a lot of
yeah
that. You know, maybe I didn't actually, in a scientific way, hear you say to, but my brain knows that that's the word that's expected in that spot and it fills it in.
mm,
So when you listen in a second language, your brain isn't quite adept enough to fill in the blanks. And you see the holes, you hear the holes and think, "Oh my God, I didn't hear something." But you will. Just keep going. Just keep going, right?
yeah. The Ray is putting something. He's put something into the chat here that's probably worth. It's probably worth taking a look at.
Connected speech, my favorite topic.
Now, what do I
Do
have
you
to
want to
do?
put that on slide 5, John?
I've got a slide here
And
running.
talk
Can you
about
see it? Oh, it's this funny thing here. I don't know why.
on our presentation here, if you
Yeah,
please,
I'm putting it in here now.
come to slide 5. That should be a good place for it.
Well, I put it on a slide here. That can you see it?
Hang on. Yep.
Yep. More difficult for learners than fast speech is connected speech.
Yeah.
It's like joined up handwriting compared with writing all the letters separately. It's much harder to read it, isn't it?
Well, I'll tell you what I can do really quickly, John.
Yeah.
Is I will copy this just so students and listeners can see what exactly is going on. I will make it bigger so you can really see what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you a quick little lesson on how we do this. Number 1, look for all the words that begin with vowels. Okay, well, we only have 1 here. Seem not to, okay. Then another thing is H, grammatical H, disappears in normal speech. So that means that have actually begins with a vowel.
Not to have, yeah.
Then what do we have also? How do we join that? So now we've got, let's go up here. What we've got now is we can't begin spoken syllables with vowels. I shouldn't say can't.
No.
We tend not to. So more difficult for learners than fast speech is connected speech.
Right.
Okay. Here's another. If somebody says not at all, what do they do there? Well, we're going to connect this A from all
Mm-hmm.
to the T and make a syllable there.
Sounds more like not at all.
We're
Yes.
going to connect that one, and we end up with not at all.
Yeah.
But of course, nobody speaks that slowly except me sometimes. And it's not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Yeah.
What do we do when we've got 2 vowels? Because I just told you that we're not going to tend to begin with a vowel.
Right.
If your vowel makes your lips smile, then you're going to include a little y sound. So, for example, you've got 3 eyes. Nobody says 3 eyes. It sounds like 3 eyes. So you get that little y in there.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I'm exaggerating, but that's how you join it. Three I's, three
Mm.
I's. Now, with the two, your lips are going to be round. Ooh. So what we're going to do there is join it with the little w sound. And of course, we've gotten rid of that H,
Yeah.
and that doesn't even exist. And the A is basically a schwa vowel.
Yes.
So it's two of.
Mm-hmm.
Most learners seem not to have.
Right.
And there are many other little features, but if you just focus on those three to begin with, let me just write them down for people, okay? So connect initial vowels to the previous consonant, okay? Eliminate grammatical H. What do I mean by grammatical H? Any words that are just grammar. So all the forms of have, and then all those pronouns. He, him, his, her, and hers. Connect smiling. Can I say that? Smiling vowels.
Yeah.
With a y sound.
Mm-hmm.
And connect round-lipped vowels with a w sound. Okay? Start there. Take a text, do what I just did, and try to say it a little bit. And then listen for it when people are speaking. It's a great beginning. Like I said, there are all kinds of other phenomena that happens with connected speech, but that's a good beginning for students. And I think anyone at even a pre-intermediate level could manipulate a text that way. Because if you notice and give your brain the information, your ears are going to be ready to receive it.
So I think this is great stuff, and I think we'll come back to this next week. And I think perhaps we need to talk about English as a stress-timed and a stillable-timed language, and remind me. We'll get going on that a bit next week. It's a little bit off our main topic of grammar, although of course the way words are delivered is connected to the grammatical structure.
Yep.
Let's get on to this week's questions.
Perfect. All right.
So the one.
Agree? Was it agree? Or did we
do that? Yes, it is. Would you like to say some words about agree?
Sure. So let's go to slide 7. Why don't you read us the question, John?
Sure. One of my students asked me the difference between agree with and agree to. Like, I agree with or to your opinion. And I'm interested in, this person's interested in how we'd explain it. What do you say?
Okay, well, that's perfect. Can you come to slide 8 just for a minute here?
Mm-hmm.
What I've done there is I took a couple of screenshots of the dictionary here, okay? So if you look at some of the different forms in the dictionary, they're going to give you all of the prepositions that go with that verb, followed by the kind of object. Agree with somebody, agree about something, agree. Then you have a combination, agree with somebody about something. And look through all 4 of the different definitions of agree, okay? And then if you come to slide 9, John, I've got that, the dictionary patterns summarized in this little table. So we've got agree with these 4 different prepositions. Well, with is the same
Coming
preposition.
up twice, yeah.
And then the kind of object you've got. Sometimes it can be a somebody. Sometimes it can be a something. So I agree with John. I agree with John's idea. I agree on the issue of environmental cleanup. And I agree to the terms of this contract. So there we have a 2.
Yeah.
And don't get mixed up with the preposition or the particle from the infinitive. You can agree to do something.
Yeah.
You can agree to go with somebody.
For example.
Just for your information, one more pattern here. Agree, like many verbs, has a that pattern. So I agree that, start another clause. Okay,
Yeah.
so you can use it in different ways.
That's right.
And you had something to say about that, didn't you?
I'll throw in my tuppence worth as well. Yes. Again, I'll go in for a screen share here.
Okay. In Britain, you have tuppence. In North America, we have 2 bits.
Yes, you throw in your 2 bits. We throw in our tuppence. Okay. Oh, sorry. There's a slight that little splash shouldn't be there, but
It's exciting.
It's just a little mistake in that
like
presentation.
it.
Anyway,
like
let's take a look at this. I looked it up on Google, and the first website I checked said the phrase agree with is used for referring to agreeing with a person, and the phrase agree to is used for referring to agreeing with a non-person, meaning, I guess, a thing. Well, this kind of bad teaching, I'm sorry, but this is bad teaching. It's wrong. This is wrong information. And that's where that splash comes in. The only problem is that it's wrong. Okay, but so I won't name and shame the actual website that came up with that howler. Because of course we've just said, we can agree to an opinion, we can agree to an idea, we can agree with, and agreeing to is more like, as you say, what you agree to do something, but you agree with someone, you share their view, you share their opinion. And I did find, after that bad website, I found quite a good one that I'll give them a little bit of publicity. Yeah, it's called something called Espresso English. Neither of us are connected. Neither of us are connected to Espresso English, so we're not advertising anything here, except simply recommending that this lays it out pretty clearly. We agree with a person if we have the same opinion. So I agree with you.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
But we can also agree with a statement, a decision, all these so-called non-person things. We can agree with them. I agree with most of the points in this book. I share the opinion. Okay. So if we have a plan to do something, typically a plan, we agree on this. It's quite similar to I agree with you. We agree about it. We agree on it. We share our idea, but we expect to put it into some kind of practice. We're going to do something, like for example, the ethics of eating meat. We don't agree about it. We don't agree about so you can say I agree with the idea that people should not eat meat, for example, if you're a vegetarian. I agree with not eating meat. I agree with. But the ethics of eating meat, okay, we disagree about that topic. One of us thinks it's good and one of us thinks it's bad, something like that. And it goes on to give, agree to and agree that and so on. All the things that you just raised, Veronica. So I would say finding a decent website and sticking with it. And you've used... Espresso English before, I think, Veronica.
Many times. Yep, I like that website. I found that a lot of these websites that started years ago before the internet craze
Right.
um, are holding well.
Right.
A lot of the newer ones just, I'm sorry, folks, but you've got to really research your stuff. Um, Saying, well, I saw it on a website, just that's not,
It's not good enough.
that's not a good,
Anybody can
that's not
say
good.
anything. Anybody can say
Anybody can
anything on a
say anything.
website. So listen,
And don't forget that we were all COVID experts last year, and suddenly we're all experts on wars. Who knows what we're going to be experts on next week,
right,
right? And there are many grammar experts.
experts. In fact, this website actually, they do describe themselves as experts. And
Okay, yeah. Of course they do.
you think, well,
All right.
they would. So,
So, I hope
should we,
we answered your question.
yes, again,
But
don't hesitate to put something in the chat if you want a little bit more, of a,
Mhm.
yeah, if you want a bit more detail about this. But we'll move on for
Alright.
now.
Okay, let's look at slide 11, John. I think we had another question. This one's about adverbs, which ones that we use. So, can you read the question for us?
Sure. So as to pass the test, he worked hard. In order to pass the test, he worked hard. If it's placed at the beginning of a sentence, the phrase should be in order to. Am I correct?
Well, let's have a look, okay? And we'll see what they sound like. So come to slide 12, and I've got them written out in both ways.
Mm-hmm.
So we can have our adverbs at the very beginning of the statement or at the very end, okay? This middle adverb, we'll explain that in another live session. This one isn't really for phrases. Okay, so let's see how we go. In order to pass, he worked hard. Sounds okay. What do you think? Yeah?
Yep.
It's all right. Yeah?
Yep.
He worked hard in order to pass. It's okay, but I like the other one better. What do you think?
I would find either of those okay. I wouldn't have a problem with either of those. Yeah.
You have no problem with either. All right, let's look at the second option. So as to pass, he worked hard. I don't know. He worked hard so as to pass.
Sounds much better.
Do you have a preference there?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
This one, yeah.
But I think in general, and this is something I'm going to go on to say, I think in English we mostly tend to say what we're going to do before we say why.
Yeah, okay. What before why? Let's write that. That I like that.
And I'm going to bring up some exceptions to that, but what tends to come before why?
Here's something I think of now and then, and I wonder if it's true. When we have these like adverb, conjunction, whatever kinds of whys. For example, I'm going to the beach, although it's raining.
Yeah.
Although it's raining, I'm going to the beach. Like you say, I think we tend to say what before why. And if we put why before the what, we're creating a bit of suspense.
Yeah.
And maybe I would use that in a novel, to get people to go, so you say something like, although it's raining, yeah, what happened? I went to the beach. Oh my goodness. So yeah, do you think?
presupposes the although means that there's definitely something else coming afterwards, and in order to definitely means that something's coming afterwards. Let me show you what I came up with here.
Okay, great.
It's again back to the PowerPoint, and
Okay.
okay, that's the question. Well,
Uh-huh.
technically, yes, it is true that we'd put in order to at the beginning, not really so as to. It doesn't really fit so well at the beginning. But as I've already said, it's more common to say what and then follow it with why. But to be honest, we're much more likely simply to say to.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing. In order to sounds like something I'm presenting at a meeting or something.
Yes, it makes a big thing of it. Okay,
Yeah.
but you'll find this kind of thing often in yes, as you said, in a novel where they want to introduce a topic and then comment on it. But the same thing here, to get the best results. They could have said in order to get the best results, but it just seems a bit more than is necessary. Just to get the best results, leave the dough for an hour or so after kneading it.
And that works in quite well with something we were discussing last week about gerunds and infinitives. And using the infinitive like this to get the best results.
Yep.
In order to get the best results, it's all about this purpose, this intention, this focus on getting that thing done. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, to
Right.
get the best results. So yeah, clever. Let's try it on the Ngram. Let's see what comes up.
Okay. I've made it. Sorry, no, I should make it case sensitive. Okay. I'm making it case sensitive so that the capital letter at the beginning shows that it is the opening words of a sentence. So to get, to get something, and in order to get something. It's much more common to begin a sentence with to get it than in order to get it. All right? To get the best results, okay, leave the dough for an hour after kneading, in order to get the best results. Now
actually, Don,
yes.
Click on where it says English 2018.
English.
I think at the blue box at the top there. Yeah, that one. And I think we could get literature. Okay, so like if you scroll down, no,
we've got English fiction.
Yeah, try that. It might change a bit.
Still,
not really.
To get is very much.
I was just thinking in writing it might be used a bit more.
Yeah, but not really.
No.
And we get things like. And that's strange. This should be at the beginning of a cell. I said it for it to be case sensitive, so it shouldn't be giving me small t there. But what can I do to? These are examples. What can I do to get over feelings of hopelessness? What can I do in order to get over feelings of hopelessness? You'll need. This is a different. To get, you can't. That's not the same structure. So it's always important to go to the actual raw data rather than just looking at the statistics. For some reason, it's not giving me the. It should be case sensitive, which means that the capital I should be the capital T and capital I should be showing up both times, but they're not. Never mind.
Okay. Well,
but we are seeing that to get something happening, to get the best results, for example, or to whatever it might be. In this case, to pass the test.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think really to answer that question, in order to kind of draw the audience's attention. so that the presenter can make their point. That it's pretty
Yeah.
emphatic, really. So that's probably why you might hear it at the beginning often. But I think in just normal speech, we would say, and I'm going to change this. If you could come back to slide 12, John.
Sure.
So perhaps in order to pass, he worked hard, or he worked hard to pass, I think would be the most common way to do that one.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the so as to pass, he worked hard. I'm going to say that one we'll see in a book, in a novel or something.
Yeah.
And he worked hard so as to pass. We might say that speaking. Now that would be the way I would say it if I was going to say it.
If you're going to say it at all, so as to do something.
So as to is just really not in my
lexicon.
No, I don't use that.
Wouldn't use it very often. No, I don't.
If I were giving a presentation, sure, because it sounds really quite formal to me and officious.
Right, right.
Yeah. Listen, John, I noticed we've got another question.
We have, haven't we?
Yeah. So come up to slide 6, because I've taken the liberty of writing it out.
You'd better go and you should go. Yeah.
Right.
This is something that Japanese speakers very often, they say to me, there's a really good coffee shop down the road, you'd better go there.
Oh my God.
What's going to happen if I don't? Am I going to get into trouble?
I think with something like this, the best way to see the difference is to give different examples of when and where you use it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So as the person wrote on the chat, it's contracted to you'd better go. Okay, so that's a had.
Yeah, you had better
here
go.
We have you should.
Right.
Okay. You should is advice.
Right.
That's all it is.
Right.
That's all it is. It's just advice.
Yeah.
You'd better. We've got some serious results if you don't. Let's just call them for now unpleasant results.
If you don't.
If
Yeah.
you don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, very often. Yes.
You'd better go or you'll be late.
It's very often used in that kind of way, isn't it? Yeah.
I also like to say who says it.
Mm.
Okay? So my friends tell me that I should go, and my mother tells me that I'd better go.
You'd better go. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a consequence. There's a consequence that the speaker foresees.
Yeah.
I have no idea how serious the speaker thinks the consequence is.
Yeah.
I say you'd better go to my daughter because she is a dallier. You know what I mean? Should I take that? I wonder if I should bring my phone in my purse or I should. You'd better go.
Yeah, just go. You better
miss
go.
The bus.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas I wonder, some of my friends are going to a restaurant to talk about the play.
Mm.
Oh, you should go. You'll have fun. It'll be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
but there's no unpleasant consequences if they don't go.
Yeah.
You better go
Yeah.
because if you don't go, you're going to miss the bus, and that's an unpleasant consequence. You've hurt your arm. You better go to hospital because that might be a big problem. You might have unpleasant consequences if you don't go to hospital. Yeah, you better get that sorted out.
Yeah.
If not, there are unpleasant consequences. Whereas you should go is simply neutral advice. You know, I recommend it. You know, you should go to that restaurant. But if you don't, hey, it's not going to be any big deal. You're not going to get the police knocking on your door in the middle of the night or something.
Exactly.
Shall we wrap it up there then, more or less, Veronica? Do you think we?
I'm just looking to see if we've missed anything.
I don't think so. Ray made a comment about the intrusive R, but we could bring that up next week when we're talking a little bit more about.
When we talk a little bit more about pronunciation, and just a quick shout out. So nice to see you, Irene. We hope that you're doing really well. Okay, perfect.
Good
Next
stuff.
time we expect a question from you, Irene.
Yes, indeed. Okay.
All right. Okay, John. Well, I think we can wrap it up.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Yes.
See you next Friday.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye bye for now then. Bye bye. And I'm